That's a fellow eNCA and reporter Masego Rahlaga is outside the High Court in Bloemfontein, Komangaung, to give us more updates this hour here on Today on eNCA. Masego, what's the latest you can tell us? I mean, this pre-trial proceedings now postponed to the 10th of June, and there's an application by Ace Magashule and several of the co-accused for charges against them to be withdrawn.
Dan, the suspended Secretary General is about to get into court. Remember, Siphamandla Goke was telling our colleague Tilasiza Simalane a little earlier on that they were on a lunch break and they were expected to come back into court at 2 o'clock. He is one of 4 applicants who've brought forward a civil case. That is why the actual asbestos criminal case had to stand down today and be postponed to June because they've applied, the 4 of them, including himself and controversial businessman Edwin Sodi, have applied for the state to either remove the charges against them or give them that list that they've been asking for since last year, that list of witnesses that they believe they need in order to prepare, and other documents as well. Of course, we know, Bradan, the National Prosecuting Authority is opposed to handing over these documents as well as that witness list, because they are saying that we've given you the indictment and that will be enough for you to prepare for the case. But now, because of the application that's been brought forward by 4 of the about 14 accused, it meant that the criminal case had to be postponed. And this, of course, I'm finding out from my colleague, Siphamandla Goke, senior reporter Siphamandla Goke, who is inside court for us. I've been outside, and my colleague Tebogo Masilo can just show you in terms of the activity that's been happening out here, Bradan. Police officers, of course, around the precincts of the court because of the fact that usually support comes out in large numbers. And I want to tell you, Bradan, about a certain NEC member, Ntate Tigota Lehuete. He spoke to me a little earlier on. He spoke to the media as well a little earlier on. Now, you remember that one of the resolutions by the ANC is for ANC members as well as NEC members not to support a member that is facing a criminal trial. And the support of Mr. Lehuete, he's been here a couple of times, so I hear from my colleague Siphamandla Goke. He's always been here to show his allegiance to the Secretary General, but he's never spoken publicly about this particular case, except that recording that was leaked, of course, Bradan, that NEC meeting recording where he was saying some of them are even worse than the suspended SG. Why is the top 6 doing this to the suspended SG, and why are they singling him out? But the fact that he spoke to us today, I think, it shows that this year is one of those years. It's the elective conference year of the ANC, and battle lines are being drawn. And for him to say out loud to the media and to the public how much he believes in the innocence of the suspended Secretary General shows that he is on that side of the factions within the African National Congress. But let's show the viewers a little snippet of an interview we did with the suspended Secretary General as the media today, where he spoke about how he believes that these charges are trumped up, and he does believe that the court will rule in his favor in the application to have them withdrawn.
The charges are really trumped up. You will hear after lunch when my legal reps present my case. In fact, I was wrongfully charged. I was not supposed to be charged. I'm not an accounting officer by law. I have not received any cent. We want to hear what is it that they want from me.
Okay, Masego, as we were crossing live to you, you pointed out nicely, we just caught a glimpse there of Ace Magashule making his way back into court. You've been outside mostly, as you said. The supporters have turned out in numbers. I guess one would want to know if that has pleased Ace Magashule, that show of support.
I was battling to hear you there, Bradan. I'm not sure why, but I did hear you allude to the supporters. There are supporters. It's just that Tebogo Masilo and I are a little bit too far for us to be able to show you properly. It's quite hot here in Bloemfontein. The sun is out, and they say and the supporters obviously trying to get the shade. So they're not close to where we were. I was just trying to walk far enough to get you that shot of the suspended Secretary General, flanked by, your instance, your Dakota Lehuete, as well as the suspended MP, actually, from Scopa, that is Mervyn Dirks. He was suspended, you'd remember, Bradan, around January. He was served with a letter of suspension from the caucus, the caucus chief whip, Pemi Majodina, who said that who believes that he shouldn't have asked for the president to explain himself in terms of that recording that was leaked from an NEC meeting that I believe happened last March, where he was talking about public funds being used by the ANC for campaigning. So I think we've reached the part where we'll be able to show you that visual, Bradan, of the supporters. And as you can see, police officers also. Supporters coming all the way from areas such as Parys. It's about 3 hours away from here. In fact, Parys is closer to Johannesburg than it is to Bloemfontein. And some of the supporters actually even here with chairs. We heard them saying that they are prepared to sleep here if they need to. You know, some of them have even brought themselves food, water, chairs, believing that they're going to spend the entire day here. And if I have time, Bradan, if you could indicate to me if I have time, so that we can speak to one of the ordinary citizens of South Africa to find out from them why they're here to support the suspended SG in a corruption case.
Yeah, that would be great, Masego, just to get a sense, because they're still waiting. The proceedings will carry on this afternoon in terms of that civil matter. So go ahead.
Sure. Ntate, utlile mona o tswa hokae o tlo support Ntate Ace Magashule?
Ke tswa Fijohnskrone.
Ke hole ha kakang ko?
240 Ks.
So ke bo ma 3 hours sure.
Yes.
So a komplelle ke eng etsang o believe hore Ntate Magashule ha ona letho la le entseng le wrong?
Ke nana ke tshwa dipolitiki fela ke political agenda ke nana le nexe gonya yentse. E bana sala ke ena o tloa maybe 26 years. Alka office le premier le chairperson. Anza sa etsa corruption eo. Ha ya national se le hona o tshong. Ona le corruption e ke nana ke ntho tsa di factions tsa dipolitiki.
So jonong ring he ha NPA e le hore ke yona National Prosecuting Authority tsa di investigation le di patlisiso le di hawks etc. Bona ba re bana le bopaki.
Ha bol teng tlamele fela ba bontshe. Bona ntse metso bona bopaki ma ga ona bopaki bo hlella. Di dipaki no ntse thule di teng ha ona dipaki tse teng.
Well, of course, Bradan, he's talking about that witness, of course, the PA, as we had heard from the National Prosecuting Authority towards the end of November last year. They had said that the PA would be appearing on behalf of the state. But, of course, that changed, and they told media after that court case that she refused to corroborate, and she's not in the country, as you know, Bradan. She refused to corroborate the FBI involved, etc., and they said that she would probably form part of the accused. Today, they couldn't really tell my colleagues Pamandla Goke when he spoke to the NPA spokesperson Tunzi Maga how far they are from charging her. All he said was that they're still working on it, and he didn't promise that that would be happening by today. So, but basically the supporters saying that they believe that this is a political agenda. Why, after so many years that the suspended Secretary General was part of government, why is it that only now, when he's part of the top 6, he's being they're getting rid of him? So, but that is going to be a very interesting year for the African National Congress as they prepare to go to the elective conference in December. A lot of people will be showing their allegiance to different people who want to form part of that top 6. So, you know, this is only the beginning.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting afternoon, I guess, while the case is continuing. Then the supporters are still waiting. Masego, before I let you go, security, we saw that there was a ring of steel, so to speak, around the court precinct. Law enforcement officials, officers, as in police, being present on the ground. I guess they'll remain there for the duration of the trial.
Absolutely, Brett. And I think you're talking about the barbed wire. My colleague, Tebogo Masilo, I think he'll be able to show you that shot of what you're talking about. It's all around the precinct of the court, in fact, Brett Dan. We've got police. Nyala's also here. A large contingency of police officers outside the Bloemfontein High Court. They, of course, anticipated a large crowd to be here. Remember, a lot of people would be, or rather the suspended SG himself would have made the excuse that people were not coming to support him during November, etc., because of COVID-19, the Omicron variant, that was wreaking havoc in terms of the number of people who were getting infected. So I think police officers thought that now that there's no curfew and other regulations have been relaxed and the numbers are also not as high, I think they thought perhaps they should prepare for a large crowd outside court. But I'm hearing from, those close to the Secretary General that they didn't really mobilize people today because they were not sure what would happen in court, whether it would be postponed, etc. So I think these are people who just took it upon themselves to transport themselves here, as you saw, Bradan, having chairs, etc., to be comfortable while they wait to find out what's happening in the civic matter, or civil matter, rather. But the barbed wire you were talking about, Bradan, all around the precinct of the High Court here in Bloemfontein.
Yeah, the civil matter underway as we speak this afternoon. The criminal matter postponed to the 10th of June. Thank you very much, Masego Rahlaga, for that latest update.